History is often written in ink, but it is anchored in stone. For thousands of years, the structures mentioned in the Bible were dismissed by critics as mere allegories or poetic exaggerations. But as the spade of the archaeologist meets the soil of the Holy Land, the stones are beginning to cry out. From the shifting sands of Egypt to the rugged hills of Jerusalem, these 7 wonders represent the intersection of divine mandate and human ingenuity. They aren't just buildings, they are silent witnesses to the most pivotal moments in human history. As a content creator deeply immersed in biblical narrative and archaeological data, I invite you on a journey to explore the top 7 greatest biblical wonders, structures that redefined the ancient world and continue to awe us today. The Great Pyramids of Giza, the shadow of bondage. While the Bible doesn't explicitly name the Great Pyramid, the Israelites' 430-year sojourn in Egypt placed them in the literal shadow of these monoliths. When the book of Exodus mentions the Israelites building store cities like Pithom and Ramses, Exodus 1:11, they were working within a construction culture that had already mastered the most advanced engineering in human history. The Great Pyramid of Khufu was the tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years. Imagine the psychological weight on a Hebrew slave looking up at a structure composed of 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing tons, knowing that the god kings of Egypt commanded such absolute power. Archaeological note: contrary to Hollywood tropes, archaeologists now believe the massive labor force involved specialized workers and conscripted laborers. For the Israelites, these structures weren't just wonders, they were monuments to an empire that sought to rival the power of the Creator himself. The Walls of Jericho, the impossible barrier. Jericho is often cited as the oldest inhabited city in the world. In the biblical narrative, it was an impenetrable fortress that stood between Israel and the Promised Land. According to Joshua 6:20, "So the people shouted, and the priests blew the trumpets. It eventually happened that when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted with a great shout, and the wall fell down flat." For centuries, skeptics laughed at this account. However, in the 1930s and 1950s, archaeologists like John Garstang and later Kathleen Kenyon discovered something startling. The city of Jericho was protected by a massive retaining wall, revetment wall, topped by a secondary mud brick wall. The wonder. Excavations showed that the mud brick walls didn't just crumble, they fell outward, creating a natural ramp for an invading army to climb into the city. This perfectly aligns with the biblical description of the walls falling flat or under themselves. It remains one of the most stunning examples of how biblical narrative matches the stratigraphic record. Solomon's Temple, the House of Gold. If there is one building that defines the biblical Golden Age, it is the First Temple. Built by King Solomon in the 10th century BC, it was the pinnacle of craftsmanship, utilizing the finest cedars of Lebanon and enough gold to make a modern billionaire blush. 1 Kings 6:22 tells us, "He overlaid the whole house with gold until all the house was finished." This wasn't just a church, it was a microcosm of Eden. The walls were carved with palm trees, flowers, and cherubim, signaling a return to the presence of God. While the Babylonians leveled it in 586 BC, its dimensions and descriptions mirror Syro-Hittite temples found in places like Ain Dara, proving that the architectural style described in the Bible was authentic to the Iron Age. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar's pride. Though often associated with Greek lists of wonders, The Hanging Gardens are inextricably linked to the king who took the Jews into exile, Nebuchadnezzar II. In Daniel 4:30, the king exclaims, "Is not this great Babylon, which I have built for a royal dwelling place by my mighty power and for the honor of my majesty?" Babylon was the Manhattan of the ancient world. The city featured the Ishtar Gate, covered in brilliant blue glazed bricks and depictions of dragons and bulls. The gardens themselves were an engineering marvel, a mountain of greenery in the middle of a desert, supposedly kept lush by a complex system of Archimedes screws or chain pumps drawing water from the Euphrates. Significance. To the captive Jews, Babylon was a beautiful prison. It reminds us that even the most magnificent human achievements are fleeting. Today, Babylon is a ruin of dust and crumbling brick. The Second Temple. By the time of Jesus, the temple had been rebuilt and then massively expanded by Herod the Great. Herod was a tyrant, but he was arguably the greatest builder of the Roman era. He doubled the size of the Temple Mount, creating a massive stone platform that still stands today. When the disciples said to Jesus in Mark 13:1, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings," they weren't exaggerating. Some of the master course stones in the Western Wall weigh over 500 tons. Engineering feat. Herod's engineers used a method called dry masonry, where stones were carved so precisely they didn't need mortar. The temple was white marble and gold. Ancient writers said that when the sun hit it, you couldn't look at it directly. It was like looking at the sun itself. The city of Petra, the rose-red stronghold. Located in the land of Edom, modern-day Jordan, Petra is the city carved from stone. While the Nabateans built its most famous facades, the Bible mentions this region frequently as Selah, which means rock. The prophet Obadiah 1:3 rebukes the people of this region. "You who dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. You who say in your heart, 'Who will bring me down to the ground?'" Walking through the Sikh, a narrow gorge, to see the Al-Khazne, the treasury, revealed, is a spiritual experience. It represents the height of human defiance, building a kingdom into the very bones of the earth. It is a wonder of irrigation, as the Nabateans managed to funnel flash flood waters into a permanent supply for 30,000 people in the middle of a parched desert. The Roman Colosseum. While not mentioned by name, the Colosseum, Flavian Amphitheater, is the ultimate monument to the world the early church had to overcome. Completed around 80 AD, it was funded by the spoils of the Roman-Jewish War, the very gold and treasures looted from the temple in Jerusalem. For the early Christians, this wasn't a place of entertainment, it was a place of witness. Hebrews 12:1 speaks of a great cloud of witnesses. In the shadows of this 50,000-seat arena, the way of Jesus met the might of Rome. The contrast. Rome built with concrete and blood, the church built with spirit and truth. Today, the Colosseum is a shell, but the faith of those who were persecuted within its walls has reached every corner of the globe. What do these stones teach us? As a creator who has spent years analyzing these structures, I've realized that the wonder isn't in the stones themselves, but in what they represent. 1. The fragility of power. Every structure on this list, save for the Temple Mount platform and the pyramids, has been destroyed or abandoned. This mirrors the biblical truth that Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Matthew 24:35. We spend our lives building monuments to our careers or egos, yet only that which is built on the chief cornerstone, Jesus Christ, lasts. 2. The accuracy of the record. Archaeology doesn't prove the Bible in a legalistic sense, but it provides a consistent, high-definition background. When we see the fallen walls of Jericho or the massive stones of Herod's temple, the stories move from the realm of long ago and far away into here and now. 3. The call to build differently. The Bible shifts from physical buildings to a spiritual one. In 1 Peter 2:5, we are called living stones, being built into a spiritual house. The greatest architectural wonder in the Bible isn't made of limestone or gold. It is the human heart transformed by grace. These 7 wonders are more than tourist stops. They are signposts. They point back to a God who enters human history, uses human hands to build, and reminds us that while we strive for greatness in stone, He is looking for greatness in spirit. Which of these wonders do you find most fascinating? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the history that shaped our world.